Hi, welcome to Asian American Life. I'm Ernabelle DeMillo. Today, our focus is on fashion and the contributions Asian Americans have made from the workroom to the runway. Asian immigrants have a long history in New York's garment industry. The first Chinese immigrants worked at laundry shops in the 1800s. Later, in the 70s and 1980s, many worked as seamstresses in New York's garment district. And then there were the fashion pioneers of the 80s, among them Vera Wang, Anna Sui, Vivian Tam, and Yoli Tang.
I grew up with a family of architects. There was a saying that if you threw a pebble into the Tang courtyard, you would hit an architect. So I wasn't going to go there. I decided that I'd do fashion. I'd design clothes instead of buildings, but both are actually about enclosures. You know, clothing is intimate architecture. It's the first shelter that you build around yourself. And architecture is the bigger part of it. But both things actually do the same thing. They shelter you.
Fast forward to today, and some of the new superstars. Jason Wu, who became a household name after Michelle Obama, wore gowns at both presidential inaugurations.
Clothes sometimes speaks in volumes what you stand for, who you are, and how you're feeling.
And Alexander Wang, the head of Balenciaga, the first Asian to head a European design house. And then there are CFDA award winners Philip Lim and Prabul Gurung. They are just some of the many Asian designers who have found both commercial success and industry accolades. I'm here in Soho, New York's trendiest shopping district in Lower Manhattan. Many Asian Americans have opened boutiques here. Coming up in the next half hour, we're going to take a close look at some rising stars, from models, entrepreneurs, designers, fashionistas, and bloggers who are finding their voice on the web.
I'm Kyung Yoon in Midtown Manhattan, where I recently caught up with some of today's hottest models who are gracing the pages of magazines.
I was shopping at a vintage store in San Francisco, and a lady came up to me while I was waiting in line for the fitting room, and she asked me, "How tall are you?"
And just like that, Korean-born Suju Park began her career in fashion, becoming one of the most successful Asian American models today, working for lines like BCBG and Chanel, and being featured on the covers of the Sunday Times Style magazine and Vogue Korea. Suju's rise to prominence highlights a growing wave of Asian American models in the fashion industry. Model Kim Metches was in the right place at the right time.
My background is in fashion design, and I was working for a designer, and I always booked models from this one agency. I reached out to them randomly when I quit, and they were like, "Oh my God, can you sign with us like now, please?" And so I signed with them after like the day after I quit my other job. So then I started doing it on and off ever since. My mother's Chinese, my dad is Russian Jewish. I've been doing it for a little while. I kind of know what I'm doing, and I can kind of adapt to which role they want me to play, but I definitely think that being Asian has a big part to do with that.
Nowadays, models from as diverse backgrounds as Suju and Kim can be found spearheading ad campaigns, something that was unheard of a decade ago.
As a child, no. I didn't see a single Asian model. I never really thought too hard about it. I just noticed that they didn't look like me.
Back then, if you wanted to see Asian models on the covers of magazines, you had to do it yourself. 10 years ago, with the fashion landscape virtually devoid of Asian American representation, Ellen Huang founded Jade magazine.
Our tagline is a fresh perspective for Asian women. And so when we started out, we decided that we wanted a magazine that showcased the talents and perspectives of Asian women. You wouldn't see them on TV, you wouldn't see them in commercials except here and there, and there was always that, "Oh, look, there's an Asian person on TV" moment when you'd see one. And then, but I feel like now as it's come along, you can turn on the TV, there are a lot more characters on there, there are a lot more main characters.
So how did the sea change happen? As a casting agent, Preston Chan-Sumlit has seen the industry evolve firsthand.
Recently there's been a rise of the Asian model. I think it's been going on probably since the mid-2000s, but it's really happening now. And I think it's because of the market. Economies are changing all over the world. The West is kind of going down, and China has an emerging middle class. they're entering the luxury sector, and that consumer wants to see faces that look like them.
I mean, everyone wants to build their brand, and I mean, why not go where there's a huge population of people with an untapped market and they just are discovering fashion now?
Indeed, China's growth over the last 10 years has been staggering, with its GDP growing from $1.5 trillion in 2002 to $8.2 trillion in 2012. And like any business, fashion followed the market.
The misconception about fashion is that there's not a table full of fashion gods who are telling people what to wear. If consumers don't want to see certain images, they're not going to spend their money on it.
And increasingly, that buying power is in the hands of Asian consumers. Retail outlets from Gucci and Louis Vuitton to Abercrombie & Fitch and The Gap can now be found dotted across Chinese city centers. And with an Asian market showing no signs of slowing down, we can expect more Asian and Asian American models like Kim and Suju to be gracing the covers of magazines, both at home and abroad.
There's been a push for more diversity. Things have changed, and I think it's changing for the better. I think the world is becoming a smaller place, and we could be a little bit more inclusive of the type of images we see.
And we can look forward to seeing more of their faces on buses and billboards around the city. I'm Kyung Yoon for Asian American Life.
When it comes to fashion, Asian bloggers know what's hot and what's not, and they are also changing the landscape of fashion journalism. Grace Chang is a hot mama. That's H-A-U-T-E, and the name of her popular personal fashion blog, Mama is Hot. The fashion designer bought a camera one day and decided on a whim to start posting about fashion, travel, and being a mom. She has found a devoted following from fans who can relate to her personal style.
Good thing about the bloggers is that it's just the girl next door that you can relate to versus editor or Vogue. Like, you just never see yourself wearing a $20,000 gown, you know, walking around Central Park.
She is one of many Asian and Asian Americans in this digital space who have entered the once hard to break into world of fashion journalism through social media. You'll find them on blogs, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and Twitter. Some have become quite influential. They are known as the super bloggers with millions of followers. There is Rumi Neely, whose blog Fashion Toast led to lucrative sponsorship deals with fashion companies. Susanna Lau, known to her fans as Susie Bubble, was featured in one of Gap's fashion campaigns. Amy Song's Song of Style gets 2 million hits a day. And Brian Boy, the boy blogger from Manila, whose famous pose launched 1 million followers. They are fashion journalism's game changers.
I think Asian bloggers have really changed traditional media. The fact that Style Bubble, Susie Bubble's blog, the fact that Brian Boy's blog are now so popular, in some cases getting more traffic than traditional magazines, is making magazines and magazine journalists and editors and designers really pay attention to them.
Minh-Ha, a professor at Cornell and herself a blogger, is writing a book on Asian fashion bloggers. She recently spoke at a panel on refashion race, gender, and economy.
These companies realize that these bloggers have a lot of influence. They carry a lot of social capital, right? And that they come with not only large audiences, but very engaged audiences who want to buy everything that Susie Bubble puts on.
And while these power bloggers are influential, there is still a long road ahead for a majority of them.
I think they're really changing the landscape. But again, these changes are, they're small steps, right? They're not huge turnovers, they're small steps. Because again, the fashion industry it's a behemoth, and it's still run top down. And these bloggers are very much kind of DIY, individuals, right?
Deanne Lee was this DIY individual when she started Dreams Sequins in 2008.
There wasn't really a barrier to entry with blogging, so anybody, and it's so easy to set up on Blogger or WordPress, so it's sort of like, it was kind of like the Wild Wild West, where if you wanted to start a fashion blog, I mean, you could still do that today, just start one.
Deanne works full-time in fashion and blogs part-time, and like most bloggers has not reached the level where she can write full-time. Despite the many years bloggers have been around, they are still considered hobbyists.
Really popular fashion bloggers are working at this all day long, and it is work, right? They have to read content, they have to stay up on other blogs. Sometimes bloggers are reading 80 to 100 different blogs before breakfast, right? They have to go to these events, they have to try to get into these events, they have to produce media content that's text and also images. And they have to stay up to date on what's actually going on in fashion. So it's a lot of work, and they put in huge amounts of hours doing this work. The problem is that work isn't yet recognized as work. It's recognized as something that's done for fun and that's not that significant.
Pham says today's bloggers are earning a different kind of currency, a social currency, which includes more followers and more hits, which the next generation of bloggers hopes will eventually lead to the kind of currency that actually pays the rent. Next up is the business of fashion. Our reporter Kyung Yoon met one entrepreneur who's hoping to change the way we shop.
My background was quite traditional. I went to Harvard, studied economics, and kind of paid my dues at Goldman Sachs and at McKinsey and Berkshire Partners. Pretty squarely in professional services and finance. That was kind of the traditional route to take, and I was very comfortable there.
And with her strong financial background firmly in place, Sarah Paiji headed in a new direction. She went shopping. She saw the need for a tool to help navigate all the fashion choices and find the best deals, so she created an app called Snapbet.
We started Snapbet about 2 years ago. We're big believers that mobile was going to really transform retail, and we thought the power of mobile was really bringing local to bear. It was not just making online information available on your phone, but enabling you, on the go to also, look up or information about products and stores around you.
So here I am on the Lower East Side, a neighborhood where I don't usually shop. Lots of trendy boutiques, but where do I start to find that summer dress?
A quick browse on Snapbet shows a list of nearby shops and the items they sell. We learned that the Yumi Kim boutique down the block is having a sale. The map shows how to get there.
You can get at 10% off if you come in and show your Snapbet account to the store associate.
Inside the store, we learned there's a special promotion for Snapbet users. For shoppers, it means additional savings, and for retailers, Snapbet brings in foot traffic that might otherwise have passed them by.
I get inspired every day by being a part of Snapbet just because I get this all-encompassing view of how to launch a brand. They can use our app to target customers that are walking nearby and let them know about sales and our new products that might be in the store. Our retailers use them from sample sales that they might be having or discounts that might be exclusive to the Snapbet user. So there's a lot of benefit to being on the app.
Angela Min grew up in Hoboken, New Jersey, the daughter of a seamstress. She says she's grateful to be able to have a broader perspective about the world of fashion than her mother did.
We're building something that's never been built before. We're creating a product where we can't look to an example of, oh, this is how it's done, or this is a successful product that's been built in our space. We really need to take kind of what's in our head and all of our best guesses and go out and create it and then test the market and see how it does.
So when it comes to fashion, it's clear that Asian Americans are at the forefront of innovation and technology to help us shop smarter. I'm Kyung Yoon for CUNY TV.
From Soho to Greenpoint, Brooklyn, we met two sisters who helped change one neighborhood into a shopping hotspot. Michelle and Mary Mandulaman opened their boutique 7 years ago, one of the first stores to open shop along Franklin Avenue in Greenpoint.
Our goal is to make you feel welcome coming in and feel like you're at your friend's house and you're going through her clothes. And we do that as girls. We go through each other's clothes and show our latest finds. And
the two sisters, Filipina Americans, grew up in Virginia, studied fashion in California, then moved to New York. But instead of pursuing a career solely as designers, they decided to go the retail route.
We've always wanted to have a store together. We've been playing boutique since we were little. In our mother's closet, I would sell to my sister my mom's clothes. Of course, the idea of having a boutique and selling clothes is like every little girl's dream.
Asians are setting up shops in big numbers. According to the U.S. Census, more than 1 million Asian American entrepreneurs generate $300 billion in sales, employing more than 2 million workers. Asian Americans are also more apt to open stores and businesses in outlying neighborhoods away from popular commercial districts.
And I remember when we first opened, everyone, like the neighborhood were really shocked that we would open a store in Greenpoint. When we first opened, there was only a coffee shop and a bar right across the street over here.
Fast forward 7 years later, Greenpoint has turned into one of the city's trendiest neighborhoods.
This community tries to support local business is what I love about the neighborhood.
Now, fashionistas are drawn to Greenpoint. Delaga has year after year been named one of the best boutiques in the city by shopping blogs and magazines. Condé Nast Traveler just named Greenpoint the best neighborhood for shopping, with Delaga leading the way.
Naturally, we're just drawn to things that are, part of our culture. Especially, like sheer fabrics and gauzy fabrics that remind us of the Philippines, like the barong and things like that, and textures and materials that are from the Philippines, like kapis. So we definitely are drawn to things like that, but we don't seek it.
Michelle has also started her own jewelry line, the pieces named after Filipino mythological characters. But it's the name of the store that really says it all. Delaga, in the Filipino dialect Tagalog, means young lady.
For us, when we were little, when my dad would call us Delagas, it really, it made us feel like we were at our prime.
Between 1998 and 2008, Asian Americans were the fastest growing ethnic group at Parsons, the new school for design, more than tripling in number.
The world of jewelry design can be a demanding one for an aspiring entrepreneur, but our reporter Kyung-Yoon met one Brooklynite who is determined to make her mark.
She works quietly from a humble workbench at home, but Nancy Leong's unique jewelry creations are anything but low-key. A Brooklyn-based designer, Nancy has a long creative history in photography and the arts. Her master's in industrial design easily transferred into a sparkling new pursuit.
Well, my first love was furniture design, and furniture to me is sculptural. Everything is about shape and how it can work with your body, and with jewelry, it's just a smaller version of that.
For inspiration, Nancy never hesitates to celebrate her Asian heritage.
I'm a Chinese American, and I grew up with very traditional Chinese parents, and so I think everything I do has some element of that Buddhist balance of nature.
And the balance and textures of the natural world often define her designs. Cell patterns, even bacteria, lend shape to her fine jewelry.
These are sketches for wedding bands, and a lot of my inspiration comes from nature. I try to look at everything, even at this molecular level versus something that's right in front of me.
A computer provides a 3D perspective of a design concept. Wax carvings set the pattern into a flexible mold, which results in a rough piece, cast in metal and ready for a finishing touch.
I'm going to finish off the piece and remove all the excess metal.
Nancy's creations include necklaces and leather accessories like these decorative cuffs, which are in high demand right now.
Everything I actually make that I sell as a quantity, I do it because I want to do it for myself originally. Something I would wear every day.
In every creative process, there are challenges, but Nancy Leong has a simple way to deal with that.
The challenge is to keep going. It's like I could have just stopped and said, okay, this isn't working, and just get nervous and not finish, but the challenge is to just keep moving forward.
So what happens when you mix classical music and fashion? Well, this is what happens. This is Nouveau Classical Project, an ensemble led by Filipina-American Sugar Vendel. NCP blends classical music and avant-garde fashion, two of Vendil's passions.
I had seen actually a friend's performance and it was dance, and she used fashion, and that's really common in dance. And I was like, there's got to be a way to blend fashion and what I do. I mean, I love both of them.
I was like, how did I not think of this before? It was just, yeah. I'm so glad she's combining the two, and that it's become successful, and that it's not a gimmick. They work so well together.
NCP's productions can be described as a modern-day opera. Audience members are indeed treated to a mix of different sights and sounds, especially for those whose ears are not accustomed to the classics. One of Vendil's collaborators remarked that Vendil's productions trigger part of the brain that music of this day doesn't.
It's just more complex structurally, classical music, and harmonically a lot of the time. It doesn't make it better, I have to say that, because I love pop music, and I'm in a rock band.
Her ensemble has 6 members. We caught up with several of them recently during rehearsal. Clarinet player Isabel Kim, soprano Amanda Gregory, violinist Marina Kifferstein, and Sugar Vendil on piano, all classically trained musicians and artists in their 20s. The group is gaining recognition in both the music and fashion industry. They are performing at sold-out concerts around the city, including this recent one at the Korean Art Gallery titled Sweet Lost Perot, what they described as a deliciously strange melodrama of Arnold Schoenberg's music along with video and fashion by designer Gemma Khan.
It encompasses video projection, fashion, music, and you know, it's all female. There's all these elements to it that are bringing lots of different art functions together in one.
We just try to add another dimension to it and still maintain the integrity of the music.
In the end, it's all about the music, classical music. While their visual productions and high fashion may bring in a newer, younger audience, Vendil is adamant about not patronizing the audience.
We're going to do what we do, and we have faith that you will like it and that you can get this. Part of the reason I think that way is because of, you know, how I was brought up. I didn't have a crazy classical background, and the fact that I love it so much, it just kind of, you know, there's a spark in me that's like, I know people can dig this. We just need to get their butts in those seats.
In 2009, Soyeon An became the first Asian American to win a Primetime Emmy in costume design for her work on So You Think You Can Dance.
Fashion design is a highly competitive field, so what does it take to make it? Here's one fashion designer's personal journey.
My typical day starts definitely with a nice cup of coffee. Perfect cup of coffee for me would be the right color. It has to be a taupe color. I know it's such a strange thing to say, but that's what it is. And how do you get a nice taupe color is you mix in creamer, not milk, with your coffee, just the right amount, stir it, make sure it's taupe, and then a couple of packets of sugar, and you're ready to go. I was born in Lahore, Pakistan. I was working in corporate America for a while, and you know, steady jobs, everything was going well, and I just felt so empty. And I knew that if I continued this way, there's no way I can stay in this path for the next 20, 30 years. And if I did, I would regret it. And one of my things I always wanted to pursue was a career in the fashion world. I always loved fashion, even when I was a little girl. I mean, I have memories of going far back as 5 years old. I would be walking around in high heels. Actually, I demanded that I should have high heels, and my family was very worried when they heard their 5-year-old asking for high heels.
Have zippers. We're not gonna have zippers on this. Okay. Do we have a version without zippers? Did we make it or no? What about the shorter version we did? Okay.
Some of the stereotypes for South Asian women are that
their culture expects them to live a traditional life, which usually surrounds around marriage and kids and a husband. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think even within those elements, things are changing, even for them. So I think people are becoming more, and women are becoming more independent. People don't necessarily expect a Pakistani girl to be starting her own business in fashion, a brand, and then running around all over the world trying to make that happen. So in that sense, I think I've broken plenty of rules, and just, you know, to me, my passion is my work. And it's just something, I think you don't even think about it as breaking a rule, you're just living yourself in the most honest and truthful way. You're showing very vivid colors, guys. What's this? For me, one of the strongest element of a woman is her femininity. So in my collection, I make sure that every element that we have is feminine, and my team around me understands that, and that's what we believe in. I want the Aisha brand to stand for something inspirational. I want the woman who wears my product to feel that she can accomplish her dreams, she can take chances and be a risk taker. And I think the brand should stand for creativity, femininity, all those elements come together. It's something that should inspire people. I love walking around New York City. I think just watching people pass by is inspiring. I always see how women put themselves together, and then the city itself is very inspiring because it's such a cosmopolitan city. You have a little bit of every culture here. And I like seeing art exhibits, and I like going to galleries and seeing different artists. And other than just fashion designers, you have to see art in other forms, because I think that can inspire you as well, how different elements get used in whether it be painting or sculptures or just building architect. To me, American Dream is something can be as bright as you want it to be. So it's up to you what you want your American dream to be, but you have to be prepared to do the hard work. American dream is not something you dream and you hope it happens. A lot of people who don't live in the United States, they have that impression that you go to America and everything works out. That's not the case. You come here and then you start the hard work. But I think it's in America offers you opportunities that do not exist in many different countries. So here, if you are willing to dream big, there's a pretty good chance you can make it.
That's our show for now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Erna Bell DeMillo. We'll see you next time on Asian American Life.